came to win, I don't mean to offend. The greatest on the mic, mightiest with the pen. Losing never been a choice, but a line is the same. Ascending, word bending, burns, birth in the gym. Akin to the best, never aiming for less. Opposition so foul, got me calling for rest. Who's next to get bested? Mind, soul, and flesh is antithesis of mess. It's the pressure so clean. Hold on, you better catch a God, throw him blessings. Dreams manifest, did you get what I mean? God always had a plan, he created for me.
Welcome to another episode of Knight and Craig. I told y'all last time, I'm not Knight.
I'm Knight.
You Knight.
I'm Knight.
I'm Craig.
Yes.
Craig.
Don't start already.
I have to, because on this show, you get everything from musical references to TV references to just straight up comedy. But that's not what we're here for. We help to help. We help to help. We hope to help. I think that's right? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. We hope. Say they nope to dope and no. I'm sorry. That's old cartoon stuff. I'm sorry. I used to be a kid.
Jokes,
yeah, I was a kid who was babysat by the TV a whole lot when I was young. But I
love it.
I'm still young in spirit. But yes, we are on the Knight and Craig show. We're having a great time. We are celebrating 10 episodes. So if you've been riding with us from the beginning, or if you jumped on just last week, or today's your first time, welcome. Go back and check us out on our socials. Check us out on the website to watch all of our playback archived episodes. And I should have brought my little, birthday hat and little streamers and stuff.
Maybe we already declared that we would celebrate with wings. So, Wednesday wing day. Here we come pretty soon. I cannot believe we're almost done with this particular season already.
Can you imagine? Crazy. Oh, I'm just in my mind is just it's been exploding all morning just with thoughts and ideas, and just grateful for what the Lord is doing. But when you really think about, if we hadn't done it, we wouldn't be here. So I think this is a testament and testimony to those who, if you have an idea that you want to start something that you want to do it. Every episode, Shell, I've actually been able to wear something created for the Dad Collective.
I love it.
Yeah, this one is more of the collegiate varsity look. So it's no ordinary man, no ordinary brand.
Love it.
These are available in the stores now, and we do have our Knight and Craig merch in our store as well. So if you're looking for the mugs, water bottles, shirts, please check us out in our store. Share it with a friend. It's for those of you, Christmas is coming, so 'tis the season. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I was just thinking about that this morning. I have my mugs, and I'm always in black. I love black. And I would have worn my shirt this morning if I would have been thinking, gosh, you're celebrating. But I have a Knight and Craig shirt, and then I need, this is a need. I need a coffee mug or a tea mug. And I would like and need a water bottle with a straw. I like water bottles with a straw.
Okay, well, I'll take care of that because, here at Carlisle Prints, we do take care of all of your printing and custom promotional needs.
Yep, we do.
And that was our first commercial.
I said we. That was good. Pat on the back for you for doing the little self-promoting. That's not something that comes easy for you.
No.
And so as we're, preparing for what's next, we have to do that a little bit. Not in arrogance. But people don't know what you're doing. They don't know how to support you. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you because you've been supportive and helping me to remember to do that. Because if we're not excited and proud about what we do, then no one else is going to care what we do, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm excited.
Absolutely.
I'm excited. Now, think about what did we talk about last week? Do you remember?
Oh man, it got deep real quick. All I remember is it was like, and action, and then it was stop, and we were both like, okay, how did we get there? So we were talking about not being worthy, and part of what you just said and what I'm celebrating you for, and what you typically celebrate me for as well, is that we are worthy, and we're in this space, we're in this time together, you and I, because we started, number one, but it began before we started, meaning it started with a thought. It started with the idea that we could, and starting put us into motion. because we would not be in this place again if it was not where we were supposed to be, because we were both mindful of the path that, God has us on, and what we're doing, and that intentionality, and getting back to the things that are honoring ourselves on this new journey that we're on. And so today we're talking about, what are we ignoring?
Oof.
What are you ignoring? Are you ignoring? What is it? Because it's stopping you from getting where you're supposed to be on the path that you're supposed to be on. So, as always, I'm excited to bring in whatever knowledge and exercises and things like that from a coaching perspective, from a psychology perspective, to help us navigate through these things. And but I'm gonna kick this off to you, because this is I don't
You
want to
know,
start.
you know what's funny is I almost was going to say I should have edited this one and say, "Who are you ignoring?" Because there's some folk I want to ignore, but I'm just going to keep it silent.
That is that, but that's not the topic. And also, I want to say we have a little bit of a subtitle today too that I think is really important, because a lot of times when we're ignoring things, we'll talk about those things in just a moment. We have the mindset, it may be subconscious, but we're really saying, I'll pay for that later.
Yeah.
Meaning these decisions that we make spontaneously, typically negative decisions that impact us indefinitely. So that is the X that we are trying to get off today.
Yeah.
Right?
Living our life and experiences on credit is not a good thing. I mean, I understand credit has a certain place in our community for, loans, houses, cars. I get it. We're not always able to pay cash for, certain expense level cars and certain expense level homes, but dealing with experiences of life, just issues that we have that we're choosing not to deal with. As we talked in prep for the show,
Mm-hmm.
waiting doesn't make them any better because we waited. In a lot of cases, they get worse. I still got some stuff that as funny as this topic is, we're doing it, stuff I'm grinding through and also need to grind through on my life that need to be handled, because they're not going to get any better for me just because I don't take the phone call, just because I don't answer the email, just because I don't open the mail that's from that person. It's a real thing. And the sooner the better we deal with it, it's easier, because we don't need to have any, social creditors coming in to say, hey, your own relationship sucks because you did this, or relationship sucks because you didn't do this. Just like we don't need to have any creditors call in the house doing the same thing to us, saying, hey, we're demanding payment. Because anything that we're waiting to deal with, any person that we're waiting to deal with, that becomes someone that has a demand on either a place in our mind or a place in our wallet, for the case of the real life, creditor people. And I don't need any more people putting any more demands on something that I have mentally or financially. I'd rather figure out a way. Let's get the payment plan set up, like get you handled, get you off the books. You know what I'm saying?
That's real. We were talking about things also that we can often ignore some things that go away, but then other things will go away. Like if we're ignoring opportunities or friendships or conversations or things like that, those people will leave our lives. And sometimes, like you said earlier, you're ignoring people because you want that, but still that's not necessarily honoring how you want it to be. How you want that person to be out of your life, or that the relationship has changed in some way. Other things like taxes or health or concerns or issues, they just continue to grow and get bigger and bigger. So if they go unaddressed, I was sharing with you about ignoring, and what I tell my sons when they were younger. I say the same thing to my daughter in a different way. But I'm a boy. I was a boy mom first. And so I would tell them all the time that, if your fingernails are dirty, if your fingernails are dirty, or your face is dirty, your teeth are not clean, these are things that you see your ears, because they were preparing to start thinking about liking girls and dating and stuff. So let me tell you something, boys. If your fingernails are dirty, your behind is dirty, because we tend to deal with the things that we can see right in front of us. So if we're ignoring what's right in front of us, what are we ignoring that we can't see regularly or that other people don't see? And I stick by that with a lot of things. You know, some things are blatant in our faces, and we choose not to address them for fear of something or for a reason unbeknown to me. Unbeknown. Okay, I had a friend that said he was trying to say unbeknownst, and he said "lonst and that is the funniest thing ever because anyway, unbeknownst to us, you know, we're not dealing with those things. So, Craig, you shared a story about waiting and not dealing with certain things and the impact that had on your life. So, feel free to share or jump in wherever you feel.
Well, I'm gonna share an additional story here. I part of depression that I used to suffer from used to manifest in not showering, not brushing my teeth, not even looking in the mirror. And I laughed because you said, if your fingernails aren't clean, the other parts of your body aren't clean either. And when I used to struggle through that, my thought was, I'm not going anywhere, not leaving the house, especially during the pandemic time when it was like, well, not going anywhere. And it's just us. And, oh, well, the kids, we're all going nose blind to, each other's funk. So it doesn't matter, but it was really a stark reminder to me where I can always tell about how much stress that I'm allowing in my life when I don't shave, when I don't cut my hair, don't brush my teeth, not even making the bed, changing the sheets. And some people may think, well, it's just me at the house and I'll change at a certain time, or it's just me, I work from home. There's certain chemical processes in your body that respond real negatively. It's not just underarm smell. This general hygiene, this, dandruff in your hair, this gravity creeps in your teeth and in your breath that need to be handled because we need to get up and wash. We need to keep ourselves in a certain way mentally because it's going to then manifest physically.
Yep.
And I just remember, Shell, when I used to live in our house in Menifee, it was probably around the 2015 time when we were doing the film Restored Me, and we were doing a National Day of Prayer on the Washington, Monument Square, and we had gone out there, and I realized then I hadn't looked at myself in the mirror in quite a long time. And when I share the story, people are like, how do you not look in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth, you're washing your face, or getting in and out of the shower? I had decided to pay for that later in terms of how I was feeling. And I was dealing with the kids and how they were feeling, make sure that they got up. And for me, it was just, I had become so ashamed of who I was and where I was in life that I didn't want to look at my reflection. But I had put in the work, and I've learned, like a blind person would do. Blind people brush their teeth, they fix their hair, they dress themselves without being able to see. And I had developed the ability to do that myself. While we were at the National Day of Prayer, me and a couple of the guys that went from the film, we were having lunch before we took another friend of ours to the airport. Shall I promise you, I went into the restroom. I was going to use the restroom real quick, wash my hands, come back to get, to the table. I walked in the bathroom and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. Now, I'm the only one in the bathroom. So when I caught look in the corner of my eye, I didn't recognize who that was. So I actually had to take a minute and go stand in the mirror and look at myself. I was like, man, you don't look the same. But thankfully, because I had already begun to put in the work for healing, I didn't look like what I had been through. I had felt so much better. And it was just a reminder that if you continue to go that way and not take care of you and not look at you, the changes are definitely measurable.
And you brought back a memory that I had in when I was younger, my first marriage, going through things that I had never experienced before, learning about addiction, learning about me, being an enabler, what that actually meant, being in denial about certain things, but being committed to that. And this came up for me. You don't know the cost of what you're committing to through ignorance. And when you said the story about not looking at myself, not looking at yourself in the mirror, it reminded me of two things. One, there was a point where I had to look in the mirror because I was putting on makeup to hide the inner me, even though my eyes still showed the hurt. I didn't want it to be apparent of what I was going through. I was embarrassed. There was shame associated to that. My self-esteem was battered. And then there was another moment in that same season of my life where I looked in the mirror and my skin was like lizard skin. I was so malnourished and depleted. I had, like I shared on another one, kind of joking around, I had a nice shape, and I enjoyed the way that my body looked. And I went from, at that time, like a solid 8'10". So ladies, you guys know, like that's an ideal size for clothing. Like, you got all the cute clothes and they fit you nicely, and no belly fat, no back fat, may not be all toned, but it's a nice size. And I had gone from an 8'10" to all the way down to a 4. Now, for my body type, that is extremely small. Even though I'm 5'2", to be a size 4, I looked sick. And I was not drinking enough water. I wasn't eating healthy. I was depressed, but didn't really know that I was depressed because I was so used to being in this area of discomfort that it had become normal. And I remember being at my friend's house and literally looking in the mirror, and my skin was just peeling off. And I was like, okay, something's got to give, something has to give. And in that moment, I was so down. I remember tears were falling down my face, and I made a commitment at that moment that I would never put myself in this position again. And I felt like I also saw the trauma that I had experienced and how people were seeing me. Even though I was hiding behind the makeup, even though I was still singing on the praise team, even though I was still going to church, I was literally trying to hide, and there was nowhere left to go except to deal with and not ignore where I was.
Yeah, I remember during that time, like with yourself, the Lord brought me a vision where I was standing and looking out of a window at the kids outside playing, but there was rainwater on the window. So the vision I had was looking through a wet window.
Blurred.
But on the outside, it was sunny where the kids were. So it didn't make any sense initially. I was like, what does that mean? It's sunny outside. Those kids aren't getting wet. But the rain wasn't on the outside. It was on the inside with me. And it's very often we don't spend a lot of time in community and connection with people, especially men. We're not known to be, real connected guys, real deep guys that actually form these lasting bonds where we actually go probe and ask a friend who doesn't call or doesn't text in a while. And, hey, man, are you good? And sometimes we'll pull away from people, and people don't do the same for us, don't come looking for us to see if we're okay. It's just, oh, he must be busy, or we just chalk it up as a loss and keep it moving. But the reality is we need to check the signs.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there that are like us that have issues and concerns. And sometimes just knowing that somebody cares can bring a person from dipping, like in your case, from the 4 to even to a 8 to a 4, or even 8 to a 6. You don't have to change at all, because there should be somebody there that's in community that would ask, are you okay? And genuinely mean it, and not just use it as a salutation.
I agree with you 110%. And there were some people that were doing that. I was not in a ready state to receive what they were saying. So it was like I was still in denial. So when they would say, Shell, are you okay? Is everything okay? I did not know completely how to process everything that I was experiencing at that time, as well as trying to create this buffer for this relationship that I knew was toxic. I was still trying to protect protect myself, protect this person. And so when they would ask, oh no, everything is fine. And around that time, I got accused of doing drugs that I had never done in my life. I was associated with some people. So we talked about that too, like, show me your friends, I'll show you where you're going, kind of a thing. And now that I'm not in that place, I realize how unhealthy the entire scene was. You were talking earlier about that in all aspects of life, right? What we attract is and who we are attracted to a lot of times is resemblance of where we are in our lives. So when I was in that state of my life and supporting an addict that I loved, I was also with other addicts. I was with other people who either had been on that journey or were self-medicating to help themselves navigate through this next part of their life. Those were the people that I was gravitated to, and that were gravitating toward me. Because of the support that I was offering. They're like, hey, we want people to support us like that. That was exhausting. So now that we're in this new phase of our life, I'm like, listen, I want to attract entrepreneurs. I want to attract, business owners and leaders and, people who have a wealthy mindset. And so that my life can be a resemblance of that as well. You said something earlier too, I think is appropriate to bring here about the statement. I'll let you read it since it's yours.
Yeah, I always wanted to be seen, but didn't want to see myself. I went through that for a lot of stages, a lot of years during the loss of my wife, because that part of my life brought a lot of shame. And I even put this other one here in a minute because of fear of judgment is what I did.
Yes.
Because I was afraid of admitting, let's be 100, right? I had struggles in my marriage, right? And I was afraid for people to see that I was feeling happy that struggle was going to be gone. I wasn't happy that she was dead. But I was happy that the struggles that we had were. And I didn't think that anyone really understood or would understand. And I started to feel like, oh, if I smiled, and then when people would think that, I was happy because she was gone. I said, no, I'm smiling because I've now don't have to make the drive anymore. 80, 90 miles at a shot to go see a woman in pain and struggling. I'm smiling and happy because she does not any pain anymore. I'm smiling because my kids don't have to be forcibly to go see their mom and have the image of her burned in their memory as the last thing they remember of her, versus the vibrant, laughing, charismatic person that she was, that they knew for so many years. So I was smiling because of that part's done. But at the same time, we're torn up inside because those kids don't have a mom anymore. And trying to figure out what that all looks like. So it could be a real tough thing. And I think that's why it's really important that we don't get ignored and we don't ignore other people. With having the mindset, like you mentioned too, of attracting what we want to attract, right? We're also going to instantly be sensitive to those who were like us. So I can easily now see a person who, you're like me. I don't want you to be like me. I don't want you to, be careful. You've had a tragic loss in your life. It could be a broken relationship, loss of a job, loss of death, whatever. I can tell. And that means that responsibility is on me to stay connected to them as long as the people will have me, even if it's just a text message. Hey, proof of life, respond back.
Yes.
Sometimes that's really what we need. In my darkest time, I'm not sure I had that. And I probably did. To your point, I probably did. But I wasn't in the mindset, like you said, to accept and receive it.
Such powerful points, because that's the reason why I became a coach. Almost to the word, in terms of, I did not want what I had grown and learned from, right? What I had experienced, all the negativity in any relationship. I said early on, like in maybe episode 1 or 2, that the stories that I share resemble a lot of relationships, because Number one, it's not my story to tell my past, my ex relationships, their stories. That's not, I can only share my story from a place of healing, from a place of help. And I think you're right too, in that sometimes what people may see, the people that were checking on me, they saw me even though they didn't have the exact experience. Yeah. And for me, being in that state of denial in those moments, that was actually a cop out.
Yeah.
When I think about it now, yeah. Oh, you won't understand, so I won't even try to explain. But really, it goes back to this judgment, and it goes back to my shame that I carry. Because once I got healed, yeah. as healed as I am right now, that's how I've been able to talk about it, yeah. so that other people don't have to walk around in that shame or in their ready state, right? Yep. They don't have to walk around with the shame of feeling like they were the only one that after they got divorced, they led a promiscuous life for a little bit, sure. trying to figure out what's going on. And then that landed this next terrible relationship because moved too quickly. Or they went back to clubbing, or they went back to drinking, or they went back to whatever they did to yeah. try to cope, with whatever was going on, and to rebuild self in a way that says, no, I still got it. Yeah. It's us checking on one another doesn't necessarily mean we have to fully understand what is going on. But I think what we're sensing is that something is not right about this person that I care about. And so for me, as the person that you're caring about, it's up to me to share what I want to share. And sometimes, I'm sorry, people, it's not safe to share with you. It does not feel safe, psychologically safe to share with you, because sometimes the motive in which you are coming feels more like a motive of judgment, feels more like a motive of, I'm going to, especially with social media, I'm going to plaster this all around because we've been talking anyway behind your back. We've been saying little things. I remember I got called into an intervention once with my family, and because of the weight loss and because of where I was in my life, that they thought I was smoking crack, and and because some other person shared something that was not true, and they took that story and ran with it. Now I'm in an intervention, and I'm like, when have you ever known me to do anything like that? So then I had to self-disclose. No, I smoked weed and I drank. That's the extent of my drug history. And anything that anybody else is telling you is false, regardless of who I'm with, regardless of who I am around. I'm not doing that for many reasons. I'm not doing it. And so in order for us to really help people, we have to remove that judgment, and we have to consider ourselves as we go to try to help someone else. How would we want someone to show up for us in a real genuine way, in a real authentic way that says, listen, I don't know what's going on, but I'm sensing that something is off. You're not the same person that I met a year ago or 2 years ago. I'm here. And then leave it at that. And if they want to share, they will. If they don't, they're not ready, and you cannot force that, because that actually will make it worse.
It's funny. I had a person during my crisis moments, we're going to use a term, we're going to make up a term like Jesse Jackson used to, my drugcation times, with signs with alcohol and other addictive stuff. Person told me, I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. Mm-hmm. After your wife died, I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. And in my, how do I say it? In my victimized mindset, I said, I still speak English. So it's not like I all of a sudden began to speak some other foreign tongue, right? So, but to their point, it took me years later to really understand that they basically were having a similar type of struggle with the loss and my hurt that I was having. And they didn't really know what to say. Because I'm a word guy, right? And you put it eloquently.
I was going to point that out.
Yeah. But you put it right where people, I think in some cases people are genuine, but at least some people are not. But it's not what you say to people that count, it's how. Yes. And some people really can come sideways. And I think it's very important how we check ourselves before we wreck ourselves or wreck someone else and those relationships, because how you come at a person would dictate if there's any relationship that either one of you want to
Mhm.
salvage.
Mhm. Mhm. I want to ask you a question
Hmm.
because I know you're a word guy,
Yeah.
and I know that you've been reading since you were about 2 or 3 years old. So I know that you are super brilliant.
Mm.
And in that moment where that person came to you and said, I don't know how to speak to you, or I don't know how to talk to you. If you think back for a moment, inside, did you know what they were really saying?
No, it took me years. Took me
Okay.
years. Took me years,
Okay.
therapy and conversations with people that I trusted. Because and I say it that way because though you may see a counselor or a therapist, it doesn't mean that you always trust that person. You trust the process with the therapist that my information is safe, right? But it takes time to become connected with the therapist, where you feel like you are connected with a person, and where you can share and you think the therapist genuinely cares, right?
Yeah.
Versus just, I'm just in here checking the boxes, right? There's
Right.
some other people that I talk to that I feel safe with, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
some people who I used to feel safe with, I
Mm-hmm.
no longer feel safe with, because their motives began to try to turn me into who they were instead of
Right.
allowing me to become who I'm meant to be. And until I knew what I was meant to be, it was easy for me to continue to follow and just be what they wanted me to be, or what they were helping me to become, because I
Right.
didn't have a basis. I didn't have a format or
Yeah.
framework, right? But as I started to realize and grow, and the healing, I guess, began to
Mm-hmm.
start, right? I realized that their way wasn't what I needed. So I started to feel some kind of frustration. And even that didn't make sense as to what was going wrong. It just felt like they don't understand me. They
Mm-hmm.
don't get it, or I don't understand them anymore. I don't get it. But
Mm-hmm.
as I'm now, a decade into the healing process and several years into relationships shifting with people that I, were close to,
Mm-hmm.
those were all flags for me along the way to remind me that that's not the way I'm supposed to live. Meaning, whether it be addictive behavior or someone
Mm-hmm.
else's mini me,
Yeah.
I need to get in the middle of the road and follow the path for me.
Yes.
And that's where I'm finding myself on now. And no disrespect to anyone. Finally, I can say in my life, no disrespect to anyone who I've had conflicts with during this process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trusting that their motives were wonderful and genuine at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
for those whose motives weren't,
Mm-hmm.
I still love you with the love of the Lord. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer going to be the clone. I have to be me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I heard you when you said that it took you years. I wanted to ask that question specifically because sometimes when people come to us, that the words that we choose, the
Mhm.
words that we say
Yeah,
are completely in defense,
for sure.
meaning I'm going to respond this way. I know what you're saying, but you're not getting me today.
Yeah,
I'm not talking with you about that because I don't trust you.
right.
Right. And to your point, also, as we
Mhm.
think about therapists, counselors, coaches, what have you, the connection that you have with that person is very important.
Oh, yeah.
And within the first, few times of going, how safe you feel.
Yeah.
And if this is going to be a person that you actually can connect with for a specified amount of time, I
Sure.
always recommend for my clients, let's do this for 3 months,
Sure.
right? Let's start with 3 months, meaning 2 times a month for 3 months. That's 6 sessions.
Sure.
And then we decide how we want to move forward,
Yeah.
or we decide, because you're not going to get everything in one session. It is an absolute journey. It
Yeah.
is a journey, and we may uncover one thing in this opening session that's related to your intake process, and
Yeah.
then the next session we're diving into some of those things. But there's no way to get through a
Mm.
life of trauma and pain or hurt or disappointment or whatever it is
No.
in 1 month and think that you're going to be better.
Mm.
Carving out that path, determining those goals together,
Yeah.
seeing where you want to be and how you see yourself in the future versus where you are now, it takes time. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, I think we shared this before, sometimes it takes as much time to undo some things depending on your readiness state, your state
Yeah.
of readiness,
Yeah.
as it did to get into that place,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
you
huge.
know?
Because as a person who's been a victim, right? We've
Yeah.
all been a victim for something, of something, right? We've got to want to. Because even if you go see the therapist, the coaches, they're not going to do the work for you. They're
No,
going to give
no.
you work that you've got to do. And you, in your turn to your, you mentioned the term state of readiness, in place if we're ready to do the work, we've got to put that work in. And sometimes the work and in the process of healing is harder than the hurt that it took for us to get to the place where we were, because you're having to grind back through the hurt,
Yes.
dealing
Yes.
with
Oh,
our role in the hurt, right?
yeah.
And stop blaming the person that hurt you. And for me, that was one of the hardest steps, to be able to forgive the person that hurt me, because I was still angry and I wanted revenge. I wanted my get back, and I'm never going to get the get back.
Yeah.
And in some of the cases when I got the get back, or some of the get back, it wasn't healthy. That left a mess too, that I'm paying for later, right? Because we tend to say some things in the get back that we really, we probably mean every bit of it as it's coming out of our mouths. So that we're yelling, screaming, texting, or emailing. But when we get done releasing that, the truth is, I really didn't mean it.
Yeah.
We really didn't want, maybe we meant it, but we really didn't want to have said that way. Because for me, I usually think you should know me well enough, and our friendship should be enough where we didn't need to have gone there. You feel me?
Yeah, I do. And friendships and titles and expectations and all of those things change. Right?
Yeah.
They do. They absolutely do. And so it's our job as the person, we talked about this too in a previous episode. It's our job as a person who recognizes the shift or the change within ourselves to communicate that to people, because they still think your favorite color is red. And you're like, no, I like purple now. That's to minimize, to make it a relevant thing, not to minimize someone's pain or suffering to a color change. At the same time, as we begin to open up and share some of these things, it opens up other wounds. And it opens up other traumas. And so sometimes people don't want to deal with that. I remember in helping my husband go through, we're still going through the process of getting 100%. He's already 100% disabled, but the rating for military people, that the difference between what you get compensated for the pain and trauma and service that you have at 30% is different than at 70%, and 100% opens up a whole another door of benefits beyond the compensation. So we've been going through this process. And through this process, he's had to re-engage with different therapists, different type of therapists, even, physical therapists, mental emotional therapists, psychologists, all those types of things, neurologists, primary care. And he said, I'm tired of saying the same thing over and over and over, reliving these experiences, if you're not going to help me. How many ways do I need to tell you? I broke my back and my spine was compressed and my heels were shattered and I had TBI and I had a blood clot in my brain. How many times do I need to relive this such that you understand that I have a need?
Yeah.
And that's sometimes how we're responding to people in that angry moment. Because for us, it's not just this one incident that they know about. It's everything, and considering everything that you and Sandy went through leading up to the death. It's everything that I went through with my ex-husbands that caused me to realize where I am right now and the impact that it was having on me. So to be in a place now where I'm healed and I'm on this path and everything is good, it took me time to work with a therapist. It took me time to work with drug counselors. And so people don't see that. They only see the one thing that is happening right now, not the path and not the story that really resembles and represents why you would respond like that in the first place.
Yeah. And we need to make sure that we're giving ourselves the grace to accept the spot where we are on the journey. Because I can empathize with where he's at, right? Empathize is the
Mm-hmm.
right word, right? Because not having gone through the experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll make sure I use the right word because I have not been through what Steve's been through. So looking at how he's doing it, right, and what he's been through,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to get to the end. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't want to be
Yes.
where I'm at. So I guess the sympathetic, right? I want to get to the end. I don't want to put any more work in. Like I said, I'm tired. I don't want to have to get up today and deal with that problem on top of the issues I've already got. There's
Mm-hmm.
got to be a way. Is there a little blue pill I can take to make it all go away? Is there something I can do faster, or you can do? Push a button in the computer and make it done,
Mm-hmm.
so I can go back and lay down. But I don't know. I think it's a lot of our stretching and growing. In some case, I mean, this is of course different to Stephen, but some of us have issues in our healing process that just
Mm-hmm.
requires us to need that stretching. We need to stop holding in that outburst to save someone else's feelings. And sometimes we do need to set the boundaries. And sometimes a boundary is a sharp remark to someone. Yes, and sometimes it isn't, right? But
Yeah.
in either case, we have to, because I know I used to be feeling some kind of way and shame because I got angry, or
Mm-hmm.
I thought I didn't deserve to have a feeling because of what I'd been through. But
Right.
you always deserve to be who you are because our feelings are real to us, no matter what they are, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes. Yes. What I'm hearing you say too does actually apply to Stephen, and it's the very topic that we're talking about. Is if you're ignoring these things,
Yeah.
they don't get better.
No.
And in the process of addressing them, sometimes there is that additional, sticker shock of, dang, I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to deal with it is exactly the healing sometimes that we need. We have to feel safe in doing that, and the timing and our readiness has to be
Yeah.
in alignment. There is no way that you would respond day 2
Mm-mm.
the way you are responding right now
Oh no.
to any hurt. And I love what you're saying. I say that too, is we have to give ourselves the same grace that we give others.
Others, yes.
And because sometimes, like you said, we can be empathetic, meaning, dang, I can only imagine what that would be like. Sympathetic is more of like, I'm sorry that you're going through that, but it may not resonate with you in the same way.
Yeah.
In either case, I think that it's important that that same grace that we're saying, I feel sorry, or I empathize with someone else, that we empathize with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think if
You
we
know.
don't do that, we are on the wrong space. Because I used to put myself so far beyond last that I never allowed myself to truly grieve and heal because it was always someone else in front of me that needed to have something, and I was trying to help fix them from my place of brokenness. And
Mm,
it's tough.
negative currency,
Oh,
right?
dude, negative currency. And
Yeah.
I don't you can't do nothing with negative currency. You can't buy nothing if you get no, even if your credit card is on zero or if your bank account's overdrawn, there is
Yep.
nothing,
Yep.
you can do with that. In fact, I was working with a friend of mine when I were talking. It's like, man, I want to be able to send you a blessing, right? But let
Mm-hmm.
me know in a way to send it to you so you can actually use it. Because sometimes if we're in a place of negative currency, you can't even take advantage of a gift someone has to give wants
And
to give you because you're so far in the hole. Whatever you get, it's just going to the bottom until the bottom eventually gets raised up enough where you can either stand it and then see above ground. And
yeah.
that's where some of us find ourselves. We've dug this hole of fear and anxiety and loss and I don't give a damn in this anymore, where
Mm-hmm.
we're in there to the
Mm-hmm.
point where you can't even see the light at the top anymore because we're in so deep. But you can't give up no matter where you find yourself. It's a step, one moment at a time. It's another step, another moment at a time, another breath at a time. Eventually, you're going to get to the top where you can see the light. And eventually, you're going to be out in the light if we just don't give up.
There are times where asking the question, really, I love what you said about, you can give them something, you can give them, float them some cash, but that may not be what they need. That's what I heard, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Simply asking someone, how can I help? What would be most helpful? What is it that you need? Be ready that they may not know exactly what they need.
Right. Right.
You asking them, though, gives them an opportunity to search within themselves, and knowing that you are willing to help them with that when you figure that out, or a conversation can happen that, hey, Craig said that he could, potentially help me, right?
Sure.
Then once you figure that out, you go back and be like, hey, bro, I was thinking about this and you said this. I don't know what you can do. So there's a little bit of humility for the person who's asking as well, because Craig may be thinking $5. Craig might be thinking a Starbucks drink. Craig might be thinking, a number of things. And you might be thinking $1 million. And you might be thinking a shopping spree. Right. Sure. So that conversation has to happen, and the agreed upon help means I'm doing something and you're doing something. I was in a relationship with someone that they thought help meant I'm doing everything. Yeah. Because they viewed me as the person who, Miss Goody Two Shoes. Oh, you got the job. You got this. And it's like, hold up. You could have the same thing. Your choices are dictating what you're getting, as are mine. And so I'm not better than you, and I don't owe you anything.
Right.
What I do want to offer you is love and respect and support. But that doesn't mean that you're going to walk over me and walk on me as the person who's doing all of this, because that's not sustainable.
No.
It's not realistic either.
No.
You can never put ourselves in a position where we're doing more for someone than they are willing to do for themselves. That is a recipe for disaster. You can help, you can support. That needs to be tapered with what is your lane, what is your path of things that you can control and do and contribute, and feel really good about that. Because at some point, there's going to come a time where you're going to give more than you can afford to give.
Yeah.
And the person receiving that, if their mindset is one of manipulation or one of entitlement, then you're going to always be in an over-accommodating state and never getting back what you need from that person. And if this is a pattern for you, you're not getting it back from anybody. So you're walking around empty and negative. And that's also when we tend to have outbursts, when we're fed up, because we realize, dang, what am I getting out of this? Because we stayed longer than we needed to stay, and we gave more than we could afford to give.
Yeah, because that relational currency, it's a thing. It is a thing. And we have to really be mindful of what we're spending with our friendships.
Yeah.
Are we overdrawn? Do we have a credit? And sometimes it's interesting. We have credits with our friends and our loved ones, but those accounts are frozen. So when we come to deal
Say more.
When we have a relationship with somebody and we have a conflict, or if we're not able to give to the person, whether it be in our time or mentality, and we need to draw from that account, we need someone to hear us, and they don't give it back. They're not giving us the love that we're needing, that we're expecting at that moment. That relationship and that friendship can feel like it's a waste, and there's something wrong with it, and it's broken, because it's like, hey, I came to you for this and I need this from you. Sometimes I just need a person just to say it's okay. Right. And and then there's some moments when I need the kick in the butt. Dry your tears, kiss your ass and get glad. Let's go. But I need that friend in that relationship, and I need to trust it enough to know that that other person knows what I need at that moment. And sometimes sometimes we don't always get it right. But to not be available to give anything is a tough place to be, because I can find myself choosing other alternatives to self-medicate and help me through that issue when I need someone to talk, and they're not there. I can go find a talk from another source. And that's not necessarily a safe place. Other places.
Oh, all the time. Okay. I always have two things. So you said something I want to clarify, that the other person should know what you need.
I would want them to.
You would want them to. Okay, got it. Great. I'm glad I asked that. Okay, because that's your responsibility. That's
right, because it's like what you said before. Sometimes we don't know what we need.
Got it.
I need help. That's all we
Got it.
know.
Got it. And I wanted to acknowledge what you're saying too, that we don't always know what to say.
Right.
And if we don't know what to say, we don't know what to do, the person who we're trying to help doesn't know what they need, that time with them, sitting in silence, or being there, being available. I like that word, because availability could be in person. It could be, we just sitting on the phone, we quiet, but I'm here.
Right.
And,
Right.
spiritually, we know we're never alone, yet we're on this natural journey. And so people are important. We're wired as human beings to connect. That's how we are created, to
Right.
connect, to understand, to love, to give, to procreate. That's a part of connecting, right?
Sure.
So being there, being available to be what either I need, or being available to help me think about what I need, doesn't mean that you're telling me what I should do.
Right.
It means you're waiting for me to recognize the power and the strength that I have inside of me to rise up, to be able to speak what it is that I need. So I like that word of being available,
Right.
Period.
Period.
And defining that together based on what I'm sensing, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So what's had to happen to me in my life when I was relying on so many other people to be available to solve my problem, I found that the Lord made all those people unavailable to me. Calls weren't being returned, or calls weren't being answered right away, and their response times to those calls were hours, minutes, days, weeks later. I found that I had no other place to go but to go back to him. So when I had to I find myself, okay, I need to go to my father first. So God, this is where I'm at. I need help here. And voicing that then allowed the person who may call or may text, that availability then helped, because I had to get my relationships in alignment. I couldn't put anybody else over my relationship with the Lord. So that's, for me, it helped me resolve that. And it also helped me take that feeling some kind of way away from that I may have had for the other person that didn't answer the phone or the text or wasn't available. Because I was like, damn it, didn't you see I needed help and you weren't there? And because in my past, when people weren't there, I just go to the cabinet, go to the fridge, get the bottle, pour it up, and it's there. I used to have gatherings in my house, trash can full of empty alcohol bottles. Nobody say anything. Okay, fine. Then you don't care. So my old me was equating the lack of response from people from the lack of love. And so that put me to a spot where I didn't want to be, because I figure if no one else cared about me, then I don't need to care for myself. And I was on that path to killing myself.
Self-destruction.
Yeah. So now my mindset is, okay, no, that's not the way it means. Someone's lack of availability in person doesn't mean that there's any less love that they have for me or I should have for myself. God loves me and he's always there. So I'm gonna, and I know we oftentimes want and need God in flesh, people with flesh on, that are there, that we can touch and we can feel, and that's wonderful. But we can't rely on that as our solo dolo meaning and representation of what love looks like. Someone physically there with us in our life. It's just not.
Yeah. That's a really, really a powerful moment to close on. And I believe that this topic is, as you're going into relationships and physical, representation of what love looks like, it would be a great place to pick up, because in our conversation, our prep conversation, we kind of talked about redefining what relationship looks like, and going from friend to romantic relationships, or going from a romantic relationship to a friend relationship. Are these things possible? Can they mutually exist? And how do we prioritize those friendships and those needs based on our relationship with God the Father, and separating that from how we see ourselves needing that love? There was something that you said about that that when you believed or when you thought that the person, them not being available, somehow translated to you not caring about you,
Yeah.
I imagine that you're not alone.
Yeah.
That you're not alone. And so
Yeah.
I would love to explore that with you all in a future conversation.
Well, let's do that. If you
Yeah.
want to reach us on Knight&Craig, we got our Instagram and our Facebook stuff up and set in place. Now,
Mhm.
of course, by the time you get to this 10th episode, you would have already seen that on episode 1. But as we
Yeah.
were bringing these together, we had not put those out yet. So
Yeah.
follow us and, like us, share us, comment, get on this journey with us. Let us know you're out there on the Knight&Craig. And you can also send us an email direct at knightandcraigshow@gmail.com. Till next time,
Absolutely.
Michelle, man, I don't know where this time goes. To be honest, like, whew, that water was deep. And sometimes it was cold up in here.
Yeah, I really want to celebrate your vulnerability. As always, thank you for trusting me on your journey, and thank you for trusting us on your journey.
We'll see you all next time on the Knight&Craig Show.
I came to win, I don't mean to offend. The greatest on the mic, mightiest with the pen. Losing never been a choice, but a line is a sin. Ascending, word bending birds, birthed in the gym. Akin to the best, never aiming for less. Opposition so foul, got me calling for rest. Who's next to get bested? Mind, soul, and flesh is antithesis of mess. It's the verses of we. Go long, you better catch a God, throw him the scenes.